Redditors related to a psychopath. What is your creepiest? Holy shit, I might get murdered. Story? My nephew through marriage is a crazy little shit. Once, the entire family was playing hide and seek. He was around 9. He didn't like where I hid, so he flew into a rage. He tried to hit me. I grabbed his wrist and twisted just enough to subdue him. He screamed like a freaking maniac. I released him. He then ran into another room stating he needed his Nerf gun to shoot me because he shoots people whenever he gets mad. I looked at my SIL and said seriously, "You're okay with this?" Her response, W. Not me, but my cousin 11 at the time was caught smoking and skipping school by my mother. My mum told him she didn't care about him skipping school because his mother wouldn't have cared, but told him not to smoke by her car. He didn't like being told what to do, so he grabbed my brother 2 at the time by the hand and walked him out into the middle of the road, by a blind corner. He sat my brother down and told him not to move, then he walked away. Luckily, a neighbor had seen. I had several with my brother, but the worst was when I woke up to him sitting on my chest with his hands around my throat. He was trying to choke me, but his hands were too small and he didn't get the pressure right, so I ended up with a giant hickey around the entire front of my neck instead of death. All because I ate the last nutty bar. All that for a nutty bar. Just imagine what he'd do for a Klondike bar. I have a cousin who used to kill neighborhood cats as a little kid. One day he just up and left. No one has seen him in about 13 years. My younger brother, who I'm still living with, has about 2 months ago started to get very aggressive towards his classmates, and has also been kicking our dogs and things like that. My parents have tried to punish him, but the only way they feel as if they can get through to him is through spanking him, and whatnot. He has told me all this does is make him more angry, and about 2 days ago he told me, "You're pretty unlucky you don't have a lock on your door." Some nights I also wake up to weird no. I didn't think my sister would murder me, per se, because she enjoyed abusing me too much to straight up kill me, lol. One of the biggest things that sticks out from my childhood growing up with her abuse was occasionally if I was sitting on the couch back of couch facing kitchen, she'd come up behind me and run a butcher knife along my shoulders and neck until I turned around and realized she had a knife. I think she just enjoyed the fear in me realizing what was going on, that look of oh. My mom was 19 when I was born, and we had a very close relationship when I was little. She was always more of a friend than a mom, and that's just how our relationship was. Before my stepdad, I was always sarcastic all the time, and we joked around a lot. One morning my mom asked me to take the pizza boxes from last night's dinner out to the garage where we put the cardboard recycling. I jokingly told her no as I gathered up the boxes to take them out. I took them out, put them on top of the. I have a male cousin who I strongly suspect is some kind of sociopath. When I was a child, I'm female by the way, I lived next door. He was in high school and I was in grade school. His family had a pool and we would often go over and hang out, which I dreaded. This cousin would, when no one was looking, sneak up on me and either throw me into the water or get in with me if I were already in, and hold me under until I was so out of breath I would actually breath in water and go limp. And he. Sudden changes in behavior, including aggression towards animals and others, can be symptoms of sexual abuse as well. I'd rule that out before too long just in case. Late edit, not saying it is, just that there may be an underlying cause or trigger for this behavior, and that it would be a good idea to have an appointment with a professional before hanging a APD label on a kid. Could be GAD, endocrine, MBI, or if you watch House, lupus. Wounds heal best when they're treated early. My mom, brother, and I came home to find all of my mother's diplomas and certificates had been gathered into a pile on the floor of our shared bedroom and burned. My mom is blind and had not been given much schooling as a child, so she worked her ass off once we were in school to get an education. Unfortunately, at this time we were forced to live with my grandmother and 2 mentally ill uncles. One of the uncles had a grow room, and the other didn't approve of pot, so he destroyed the room. My then 15-year-old cousin tried feeding my sister then 5 and I then 9 rat poison. Holy shit, man. Also, I think most anyone else would have reacted the same way you did. There's no way you could have known it was a toy gun. Till everyone's cousins are fucking nutty as peanut butter. Not a family member, but my mother dated a crazy person after her divorce. We moved into an apartment, and he moved in with us not long after. He had long hair and blue eyes and a beard and was the spitting image of white Jesus. And he took it to heart after a few people told him about the resemblance. He pulled me aside one day and told me that he had a secret, and he wanted to tell me, but I couldn't tell anyone else because the government was looking for him. He confided in me that he started chatting with a girl online, and after a bit she sheepishly admitted that she had a criminal record. We went on chatting for a bit. She was cute and very interested in me, but of course the conversation eventually led us back to the criminal question. Turns out she was on parole. Now I needed the story of how she got into trouble. She finally took a pic of her parole document and sent it to me. I was reading it and came to the line where it listed the offense she had committed. Parents need to fucking stop blaming the older siblings for younger ones' outbursts. My little sis isn't necessarily psychopathic, she's a fairly normal young girl. But once a week or perhaps once a month every now and then she'd have rage-fueled outbursts where she'd kick, scream and punch me repeatedly until the screams alerted my mom, and she'd come running and scold me for it. I don't do anything, I simply look at her sometimes and something that's been bothering her the entire day hits. I grew up with an abusive father. Both emotionally and physically, although he dialed down the physical abuse when I was around 11-12, due to the fact that my golden child older brother had learned the ways of abusing me, physically as well. Anyway, when my parents got divorced, my brother went to do a year at a boarding school, so guess who was left alone with an emotionally abusive father who'd just lost his wife. His abuse increased exponentially, and it was of course even worse after Once I was playing out the front of my house when an elderly neighbor told me I was playing in the wrong place. I liked to be a well-behaved child, so I asked him where I was supposed to be playing, and he took me to a blind corner and told me to stay playing there. I said, "Okay," and smiled brightly, waited for him to walk away and ran home and told my parents. I was about 7-8 at the time. I just don't understand what's wrong with some people. I'm not an expert, but mutilating animals at a young age is a textbook psychopathic behavior. Your style is a POS. I have a cousin who I always knew was kind of crazy. We live in a major city, and he never leaves his family's apartment. He just stays in the apartment drawing and playing games. But even though he's weird, I didn't really mind because he's usually very sweet and wouldn't hurt a fly, or so I thought. When I was in college, I took him and my friend to see a concert. We got pretty drunk, and when we came back we were hanging out in his living room. His parents were out of town. He started draw. What the fuck? My aunt has 2 kids, both adopted, and all I know about their bio moms is that they were drug addicts. One of them, we'll call her Jane, is my age, and we were always really close, but her older brother, John, never really hung around us to the point that I barely knew him, even though I spent a ton of time at their house. Anyway, when we were maybe 12, Jane, my sister, and I built a massive blanket fort in the basement, and were hanging out in it. John was maybe 15 at the time, and I don't. Boys will be boys applies to the occasional broken window, muddy floors, torn jeans 3 days after purchase, bent forks on their bikes, and kicking balls around inside to the detriment of the light bulbs. Not misuse of weapons, explosive rages and physical assaults. No one did one thing. Enablers for sure. WTF, people are weird. He was extremely good looking, like model material. There you have it. My dad has NPD, and is generally an emotionless asshole. When I was in middle school, I stepped on a stick in our yard and a piece broke off in my foot. My dad is a software engineer and used to go on site to build databases and help switch patient data to digital through the 80s, 90s, aughts. It gave him a real complex about not being a doctor, and he stole tools and little pieces of equipment, and would wear scrubs all of the time. It also meant he refused to take me to the ER for a super simple. He gets really weird and creepy whenever he drinks or smokes weed. Sounds like the drugs make it hard for him to keep up his facade. When I was 12, I disrespected his authority by performing what he deemed a gay act in his presence. Specifically, I played punch buggy. And I want you to bear in mind as you read this that I was never one of those asshole kids who used it as an excuse to really hit someone. It was no more violent than tag. The reason he had a problem with it is because he took it as gay. If you'd like to simulate what happened to me next, touch the base of your right thumb to your right shoulder, one then Rhoda. Sure didn't he get the last one? I mean you are what you eat. Dad was a violent, alcoholic sociopath. One time he threw me down the staircase, obviously didn't kill me but killed the child he didn't know I was carrying. I'm so sorry you experienced that. I'm naturally sassy, too, and everyone I ever knew was fine and in on the joke until my mom's demon of a boyfriend moved in. He was basically a shit person from the start who calls a 12-year-old a slut or whore. But no one believed me. He had these two awful kids who treated everyone like shit, but he spoiled the shit out of them. Anyway, we moved into a new house and I had just come inside to grab something before leaving again and he said, "Take off your..." What the ever-loving fuck? I hope you press charges. What the holy fucking shit in a half-baked Red Lobster biscuit on an unholy Sunday morning? Homicide, can you say ghosted? I find this joke to be in poor taste. They were murdered, not ghosted. Have some respect. And I thought I was gonna be in so much trouble when I called my sister a bitch for the first time. Did your parents know? Did they ever do anything to stop her doing this to you? I'm a new mom and I would be absolutely mortified if my daughter ever did anything to purposefully terrify another child. Posted this morning in another thread. I have suspicions that one of my in-laws has some psychopathic tendencies. Every so often he makes such weird remarks about hurting or killing animals. He told us he worked as a vet's assistant and part of his job was castrating cats. I get it, it's part of the job, but when he told about how he used to do that, he kinda came across like it was a magical moment for him. A while ago he had some trouble with mice in his shed. But instead of buying. And nobody's parents believe anything they say. Sounds like someone is abusing your brother. Talk to him. See if you can find out who it is. This stuff is almost always the result of some sick fuck diddling kids. Sorry for the formatting as I am on mobile. I have a distant cousin who I often see in major holidays and family reunions. He was always the hyper and eccentric type. Either he was super weird funny to be with or he can creep you out enough to excuse yourself from hanging with him. What my parents then didn't tell me was that he was heavily addicted to meth, which contributed to his crazy behaviors. He often obsessed on local town girls, claiming that she is his GF or he is in the process of PU. Jesus Christ. When I was about 11 or 12, and my brother around 6 or 7, I was woken up one night by my mom jumping on over me, like a flying tackle. I had a pedestal bed that had enough room between it and the wall for walkways on both sides, and she came out of there with my brother and an axe. My brother and I had separate bedrooms, mine at the very end of the house and his just 5-10 feet from my door. Her bedroom was at the far end of the house. She had woken up suddenly and had the urge to check on us. That's horrifying. Were your parents able to press charges? Jesus, this is definitely psychopathic behavior. So satisfying that you broke his nose, even though it was an accident. I mean, I should hope he wasn't gonna give you an upper then try to murder you. Holy fucking shit. I'm sorry you had to live with parents like that. He was in fact Jesus Christ, the most common delusional belief I've seen. I know technically the FBI is watching me is probably more common, but I've talked to 2 messiahs online, and met one in real life. The first guy I talked to, I put a lot of effort into trying to make him realize what was wrong with him. After that, I realized I was wasting my time. Now encountering Christ delusions just makes me so very sad. 2 months ago? See if your brother is okay. There might be something going on. I spent a good 10 minutes trying to get a baby bird out of my sister's garage. My brother-in-law got tired of waiting and proceeded to beat it to death with shovel. Let me tell you, it did not die in one blow. It made horrible sounds. Now, I was an adult so I'm used to fucked up, but he did it in front of his son and stepdaughter. His son is now terrified of birds and I'm pretty sure that's what spawned the fear. I'm sure parents playing favoritism and not punishing the kids who do these things encourages their behavior. Sorry that happened to you. I hope nothing else bad happened after that. He.S. working as a trucker and moonlighting as a serial killer, I guarantee it. Had an ex look at me intently, and say I don't understand why I can't destroy you. I've tried everything and it usually works but you're still here. Then he fought and prolonged the divorce for years because he enjoyed watching people suffer. Convinced a few people for a while that I was the sick one, then his facade dropped. Too bad for him that the rest of us are actual sentient beings, and he.s. not as powerful or intelligent as his deluded chaos of a brain told him he was. I'm very sorry you had to go through that. I hope you found some peace. You should have been protected, and I'm very angry you weren't. Who the fuck does this cunt uncle think he is? I'm so sorry, that's terrible. I'm shocked by all these stories of psychopath children and the adults letting their kids be around them even after one incident. When I was about 4, my cousin tried sticking a stick up my ass. He literally lifted me off the ground with the stick, and it only stopped with my screams and my dad ran outside. I was never around my cousin again. I never saw him again. He would have been 6 at the time, and at 23 he died of a heroin overdose after getting out of prison. That speaks volumes to me. My mom's boyfriend, my stepdad, took me outside and popped the trunk to show me footprints on the back of the wall as an intimidation factor. Said he tied someone up and put him in there. If I wouldn't have seen him climb out of the trunk 20 minutes before, I would have been terrified. Holy fuck, dude, that's crazy. My older brother has PTSD and I learned how serious that is. Went down in the middle of the night to get some water and my brother busted out of his room with a loaded handgun. Laughed about it later. Did you ask her how she even did that or why? No offense, but your asile doesn't he sound like a very good parent. When I was younger, I was hanging out at my aunt's house playing with my 2 cousins when they started to fight. We were home alone and the fighting got worse and worse until one of my cousins ran to the kitchen and came charging at us with a knife. He chased us around swinging at us until we were able to lock ourselves in the bathroom until my aunt came home. No one believed us.